The music pulsed like a living thing, vibrating through the gymnasium's polished floor. But I stood frozen, my heart a traitor racing in my chest. Laughter sliced through the air sharp, cruel and aimed at me, while the glittering disco ball above spun my shame into every corner of the room. I was Emma Carter, the bookworm, the quiet girl who dared to show up to senior prom in a dress I'd saved months for, only to become the punchline of a vicious prank. It started with a note slipped into my locker that morning, written in loopy handwriting I didn't recognize. Meet me at prom. I've always noticed you. L. My stomach had done somersaults. For years I'd buried myself in novels, hiding my feelings behind pages of fictional romances, too shy to confess my heart's truth, that I didn't dream of princes, but of someone softer, someone like me. The note felt like a lifeline, a spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone saw me. I spent hours curling my chestnut hair, slipping into the emerald dress that made me feel like I could be more than the girl who ate lunch in the library. I arrived at prom, clutching that hope like a fragile glass ornament. Then the spotlight hit me. A group of girls, led by Jessica Monroe, the queen of our small-town Ohio high school, giggled as they pushed me forward. Look, everyone. The bookworm thought someone wanted her. Jessica's voice was venom-wrapped in sugar, her perfectly glossed lips curling as the crowd erupted. Someone, probably her boyfriend, Chad yelled. Who'd want her? She's probably in love with her books. The laughter grew louder, and I felt my dress, my courage, my everything shrink under their gaze. The note was fake, a setup to humiliate me. My cheeks burned and I wanted to disappear, to melt into the pages of the Bronte novel tucked in my bag. But then I saw her. Across the gym, leaning against the bleachers with her arms crossed, was Lily Harper. 19, a year older because she'd been held back in sophomore year. Lily was the girl everyone whispered about. Her short black hair, streaked with blue, framed a face that was all sharp angles and guarded eyes. She wore a leather jacket over a ripped band tee, looking like she'd wandered into prom by mistake. Our eyes met, and for a moment the noise faded. There was something in her gaze. Not pity but a quiet fury, like she was ready to burn the whole place down for me. I didn't know Lily well. She was the girl who smoked behind the school, who sketched in her notebook during class instead of taking notes, who answered teachers' questions with a smirk that said she'd already figured out the world and found it wanting. Rumors swirled about her. About her mom's drinking, her dad's absence, her fights in the parking lot. But I'd seen her in the library once, her fingers tracing the spine of a worn copy of Giovanni's Room, and I'd wondered if she was like me, hiding a heart too big for this town. Enough. Lily's voice cut through the laughter like a blade. She strode forward, her boots echoing on the gym floor, and stood between me and Jessica's clique. You think this is funny? Picking on someone who's got more guts than all of you combined. Her words were fire, and the crowd quieted, stunned. Jessica scoffed, tossing her blonde hair. Oh, please, Harper. What are you, her knight in shining armor? Lily's lips twitched into a dangerous smile. Maybe I am. She grabbed my hand, her palm warm, calloused, steady, and pulled me toward the exit. My heart pounded, not from shame now, but from the shock of her touch. We burst into the cool April night, the stars above our Ohio town bright and unjudging. You okay? She asked, her voice softer now, her thumb brushing my knuckles. I nodded, though my throat was tight. Why'd you do that? I whispered. Lily shrugged, but her eyes held mine. Because you don't deserve their crap. And because I meant what I wrote. My breath caught. The note. L. It was her. The realization hit me like a wave, and I stared at her. This girl who just turned my worst moment into something else entirely. You wrote it? I asked, my voice barely audible. She nodded, a flicker of nervousness crossing her face. Yeah, I've been trying to talk to you all year. Guess I'm not great with words unless they're on paper. We stood there, the world quiet except for the distant thump of prom music. I didn't know what to say, but my heart was screaming. I'd spent years hiding, afraid of what it meant to want someone like Lily, afraid of what this town would think. But she'd seen me, and she'd stepped into the fire for me. Come on, she said, tugging my hand. Let's get out of here. I know a place. She led me to her beat-up pickup truck, the kind that looked like it had stories of its own. We drove through the sleeping town, past cornfields and brick houses, until we reached the old library on the edge of town. A place I knew better than my own bedroom. It was closed, but Lily pulled a key from her pocket, grinning. Perks of being the janitor's kid. Inside, the air smelled of paper and time, and moonlight spilled through the windows, turning the shelves into a labyrinth of shadows. We sat on the floor between the fiction stacks, our knees almost touching. I come here when I need to think, Lily said, her voice low. It's the only place that doesn't make me feel like I'm drowning. I looked at her, really looked, and saw the cracks in her armor, the way her hands fidgeted, the way her eyes searched mine for something I wasn't sure I could give yet. Why me? I asked. She laughed softly, a sound that made my chest ache. Because you're real, Emma. You're not like them. You read books like they're oxygen and you don't care what anyone thinks. I've been watching you, and I'm tired of pretending I don't feel something. Her words stole my breath. I'd spent so long believing I was invisible, but here was Lily, seeing me clearer than anyone ever had. I wanted to tell her I felt it too, that I'd noticed her too, but fear clamped my mouth shut. This was new, dangerous, beautiful. Instead, I reached for her hand, and when our fingers laced together, it felt like the start of something I couldn't name yet. But the night wasn't over. As we sat there, headlights flashed through the library windows, and the sound of laughter, Jessica's laughter, followed. They'd found us. And they weren't done. The library's quiet was shattered by the crunch of gravel outside and the jeering voices that followed. My stomach twisted as Jessica's silhouette appeared in the window, her posse trailing behind like shadows of her cruelty. Lily's hand tightened around mine, her jaw set as she whispered, "Stay here." "No," I said, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. "I'm done hiding." The words felt like a vow, born from the humiliation of prom and the spark of Lily's courage. I stood, brushing dust off my emerald dress, and followed her to the door. Outside, Jessica leaned against her convertible, her arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips. Chad and a few others lounged nearby, their laughter like nails on a chalkboard. "Wow, Emma," Jessica drawled, her voice dripping with mock surprise. "Didn't think you'd have the guts to show your face again tonight. And with her." She glanced at Lily, her eyes narrowing. "What's this, some kind of freak show?" Lily stepped forward, her boots scuffing the pavement. "Call it whatever you want, Jess. But you don't get to touch her again." Her voice was low, dangerous, and I felt a rush of pride mixed with fear. Jessica laughed, but it was forced, her confidence wavering under Lily's stare. "You think you're tough, Harper? You're just trash with a bad haircut." I flinched, but Lily didn't. Instead, she smiled, sharp and unafraid. "And you're just a bully who's scared of anyone who doesn't bow to you." The air crackled with tension, and I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Lily too, about every time she'd been called names, pushed aside, made to feel less. I stepped beside her, my heart pounding. "She's right," I said, my voice shaking but clear. "You don't get to decide who we are." Jessica's face twisted, and for a moment I thought she'd lash out. But then Chad snorted, breaking the silence. "Let's go, Jess. This is boring." The group hesitated, then followed her back to the car, their laughter fading as they drove off. My knees felt weak, but Lily's hand found mine again, grounding me. "You were badass," she said, her grin softening the night's edges. We returned to the library, locking the door behind us. The adrenaline was fading, leaving me raw and exposed. I sank onto a chair, my dress pooling around me, and Lily sat across, her eyes searching mine. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. "Stand up to them, I mean. I know it's not your thing." "It's not," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But you make me want to be braver." Her breath hitched, and for a moment we just looked at each other, the weight of what we'd done settling between us. I wanted to ask her 1,000 things, why she'd risk so much for me, what she meant by feel something, but the words tangled in my throat. Instead, she spoke first. "I've been coming to this library since I was a kid," she said, leaning back against a shelf. "My mom, she wasn't around much. Drunk or gone. This place was my escape. I saw you here last year, reading Jane Eyre like it was the only thing keeping you alive. I wanted to talk to you then, but I didn't know how." Her vulnerability disarmed me, peeling back the tough exterior she wore like armor. "I thought you were untouchable," I said, my cheeks warming. "Like you didn't need anyone." Lily laughed, a soft, broken sound. "Yeah, well, I'm good at pretending." She reached into her jacket, pulling out a small sketchbook, its edges worn. "Here," she said, flipping it open to a pencil drawing of a girl with glasses, her nose buried in a book. It was me, captured in delicate lines, my expression serene. "I've been drawing you for months," she admitted, her voice barely audible. My heart stuttered. The sketch was beautiful not because of the art, but because it was how she saw me, strong, quiet, real. "Lily, I didn't know how to finish. I'd spent so long hiding my feelings, afraid of what it meant to want her, to want any girl in a town where whispers turned into judgments. But here in this library with her I felt safe." Before I could say more, she leaned closer, her breath warm against my cheek. "Emma, I don't know what this is yet, but I know I don't want to lose it." Her words were a confession, a plea, and I felt my walls crumbling. I reached for her hand, and this time I didn't let fear stop me. Our fingers laced together and I leaned in, my lips brushing hers, a tentative electric touch that felt like the first page of a new story. But the world outside wasn't done with us. The next morning my phone buzzed with a notification. A photo of me and Lily leaving the library, our hands entwined, posted anonymously on the school's gossip page. The caption read, "Bookworm and Bad Girl, Prom's Biggest Scandal." My stomach dropped. This wasn't just Jessica's clique anymore. The whole school knew. By Monday, the hallways were a gauntlet of stares and whispers. I clutched my backpack, my copy of Wuthering Heights inside like a shield. Lily found me at my locker, her jaw tight. "Ignore them," she said, but her eyes were stormy. I wanted to believe her, but the weight of those gazes felt like drowning. Then I saw Jessica across the hall, her smile triumphant, and I knew she'd posted the photo. "We can't let her win," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Lily raised an eyebrow. "What's the plan, Bookworm?" I didn't know yet, but I knew I wasn't staying silent anymore. I'd spent too long hiding who I was, and Lily's courage was contagious. We'd face this together, whatever it took. The school's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the faces staring at me. The photo of Lily and me had spread like wildfire. Each retweet and comment a fresh cut. I stood at my locker pretending to organize my books, but my hands trembled as I heard the whispers. "Freak weirdo dyke." Lily appeared beside me, her leather jacket a stark contrast to the pastel cardigans around us. "You okay, Emma?" she asked, her voice low but steady. I nodded, though my chest felt tight. "They're just words," I said, echoing her strength, but the words felt hollow. I'd spent years blending into the background, and now I was a target. But Lily's presence, her hand brushing mine, reminded me why I couldn't retreat. We walked to English class together, ignoring the snickers. Our teacher, Ms. Larson, was discussing the Scarlet Letter, and I felt like Hester Prynne, branded for something I couldn't hide. Lily sat beside me, her sketchbook open, doodling as Ms. Larson droned on. Under the table, her knee nudged mine, a quiet anchor. I glanced at her drawing, a pair of hands entwined, one with a bracelet I recognized as mine. My heart fluttered, but the moment was shattered when Jessica slid into the seat behind us, whispering, "Guess you two are the talk of the town." I gripped my pencil, the wood creaking. Lily turned, her eyes blazing. "Got a problem, Monroe?" Jessica smirked. "Just wondering how long this little phase will last before Emma realizes you're a lost cause." Before I could respond, Lily leaned back. "Funny, Jess. I'd say the lost cause is anyone who thinks they can scare us into hiding." The class went silent, all eyes on us. Ms. Larson cleared her throat, redirecting the lesson, but the tension lingered. After class, I pulled Lily aside. "We need to do something," I said, my voice urgent. "Jessica won't stop unless we make her." Lily's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. "What's your move?" I took a deep breath. "The school paper. I'm on the staff. We can write something, tell our side." Lily hesitated, her fingers tapping her sketchbook. "You sure? That's putting yourself out there. This town, it's not kind to people like us." "I know," I said, my voice firm, "but I'm tired of being invisible. And I'm not ashamed of you." Her expression softened, and for a moment, I thought she'd kiss me right there in the hallway. Instead, she squeezed my hand. "Okay, Bookworm. Let's write." That night, we met at the library again, the place that felt like ours. I brought my laptop and Lily brought her sketches, ideas spilling from her like paint. We drafted an article, not just about the prom prank or the photo, but about what it meant to be seen, to be judged, to love in a place that didn't always love you back. I wrote about the books that had saved me, the stories where girls like us could be heroes. Lily added lines about defiance, about carving your own path when the world tried to box you in. As we worked, our shoulders brushed, and I felt the pull between us growing stronger. "You're good at this," Lily said, reading my draft. "Making people feel something." I blushed. "You're not so bad yourself." She grinned, then grew serious. "Emma, if we do this, it's not just Jessica we're taking on. It's everyone. My mom, she already barely talks to me. This could make things worse." I reached for her hand, my thumb tracing her knuckles. "We'll face it together. I promise." She looked at me, her eyes soft but fierce, and leaned in. This kiss was deeper, braver, a promise of its own. The library's silence wrapped around us, and for a moment, the world outside didn't exist. The article went to print the next week, titled "Silent No More. Our Truth." I poured my heart into it, and Lily's raw honesty gave it fire. We braced for backlash, but we didn't expect what came next. At school, some students avoided us, but others, quiet kids, misfits, even a few jocks, stopped to say they'd read it. A girl named Sarah, who I'd never spoken to, slipped me a note. "Thank you. I'm not alone." My throat tightened. We'd done something real. But Jessica wasn't finished. That afternoon, I found my locker defaced with slurs. Red paint dripping like blood. Lily saw it first, her fists clenching. "This ends now," she growled. Before I could stop her, she stormed off, and I knew she was headed for Jessica. Fear gripped me. Not for myself, but for Lily, who'd always fought her battles alone. I ran after her, my heart racing, knowing this confrontation could change everything. I caught up to Lily in the school parking lot, where Jessica and her clique lounged by Chad's truck. The air was thick with spring heat, and Lily's stride was a storm, her blue-streaked hair catching the sunlight. "Lily, wait." I called, but she was already face-to-face with Jessica, her voice low and dangerous. "You think you can keep doing this? Painting slurs, spreading lies." Jessica laughed, tossing her hair. "Oh, Harper, you're so dramatic. Just a joke. Right, guys?" Her friends snickered, but I saw uncertainty in their eyes. Lily stepped closer, her fists clenched. "Call it a joke again, and I'll show you what's funny." My heart pounded. Lily was fearless, but this could get her expelled or worse. I grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Lily, she's not worth it." My voice shook, but I held her gaze, pleading. Jessica smirked. "Listen to your girlfriend, Harper. She knows her place." The word girlfriend was a taunt, but it lit something in me. I stepped forward, my fear burning into anger. "My place is right here," I said, my voice steady now. "And I'm not ashamed of who I am, or who I love." The parking lot went silent. Jessica's smirk faltered, and for the first time she looked small. Chad shifted uncomfortably, and the others avoided my eyes. Lily's hand found mine, her grip fierce, and I felt her pride like a heartbeat. "Let's go," I said, and we walked away, leaving Jessica speechless, a victory sweeter than I'd imagined. But the fight wasn't over. That night, I got a call from the school principal. The locker vandalism had been reported, and while they were investigating, my article had caused a stir. "Some parents are upset," Principal Carter said, his tone clipped. "They think it's inappropriate." I gripped the phone, my stomach sinking. "Inappropriate to tell the truth?" I asked. He sighed. "Just be careful, Emma. This is a small town." I hung up, my hands shaking. Lily was at my house, sprawled on my bed with her sketchbook, drawing the library we loved. "What's wrong?" she asked, sitting up. I told her about the call, and her face darkened. "They're trying to shut you up." "Typical." She tossed her sketchbook aside, standing. "We need to push harder. Show them we're not scared." "How?" I asked, my voice small. Lily grinned, a spark of mischief in her eyes. "A rally. Right in front of the school. We get everyone who's with us, Sarah, the others who wrote you notes. We make them see us." The idea terrified me, but it also thrilled me. I'd spent years hiding. Now with Lily, I wanted to be seen. We spent the next 2 days planning. Sarah and a few others joined us, their nervousness mirrored by my own. We made posters. "Love is love, silence hurts, we are enough," and spread the word quietly. By Friday, a small crowd gathered outside the school. holding signs, their faces a mix of fear and hope. Lily stood beside me, her hand in mine, and I felt like we could face anything. I spoke first, my voice trembling but growing stronger. We're here because we're tired of hiding. Because love isn't something to be ashamed of. Because we deserve to be seen. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others watching silently. Then Lily stepped up, her voice raw. This town wants us to disappear, but we won't. Emma taught me that. She's braver than all of you combined. My eyes stung and I squeezed her hand. The rally wasn't perfect. Some passers-by jeered, and a few teachers watched from the windows, their expressions unreadable. But for every insult there was a voice of support. A classmate who clapped, a parent who nodded. Ms. Larson approached afterward, her eyes kind. I'm proud of you both, she said. This took guts. It was a small win, but it felt huge. That night Lily and I sat on my porch, the stars bright above our Ohio town. You were amazing today, she said, her voice soft. I leaned against her, my head on her shoulder. So were you. I didn't know I could do this until you. She kissed my forehead and we sat in silence, the future uncertain but ours to shape. But Monday brought a new storm. Jessica's father, a school board member, had filed a complaint about the rally, calling it disruptive. The principal called us in, his face grim. There's talk of suspension, he said. For both of you. My heart sank but Lily's eyes burned. This wasn't over. The principal's office felt like a cage, the air heavy with the threat of suspension. Lily sat beside me, her knee bouncing, her jaw tight as Principal Carter explained the school board's concerns. Your rally caused a disturbance, he said, his eyes flickering between us. Mr. Monroe claims it promoted inappropriate behavior. I clenched my fists, the word inappropriate a slap. Lily leaned forward, her voice sharp. Inappropriate? Like vandalizing Emma's locker? Or bullying her at prom? Carter sighed, rubbing his temples. We're investigating the vandalism, but you two need to understand. This town has rules. I wanted to scream that those rules were suffocating, but I took a breath, channeling Lily's fire. The only rule we broke was staying silent, I said. We're not the problem. The hate is. Carter's expression softened just a fraction, but he shook his head. You're on thin ice. Go to class. Outside, Lily grabbed my hand, her eyes blazing. They're scared of us, Emma. That means we're winning. I wasn't so sure, but her certainty steadied me. We couldn't stop now. Not when we'd found our voices, not when we'd found each other. The next week was a blur of whispers and glares, but also quiet support. Sarah started a petition to reform the school's anti-bullying policies, and dozens signed, including Ms. Larson. I wrote another article, this time about the rally, and the school paper's editor, a shy junior named Max, published it despite pressure from above. Lily and I kept meeting at the library, our safe haven, where we planned our next steps and stole kisses between the stacks. Each touch, each whispered word, felt like defiance, like love was our rebellion. But the school board meeting loomed, a showdown that could end with our suspension, or worse. The night before, Lily came to my house, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice small. It was the first time I'd seen her vulnerable, and it broke my heart open. I pulled her close, our foreheads touching. Whatever happens, we face it together, I said. She nodded and we kissed slow and deep, the world fading until it was just us. The meeting was packed, the community center buzzing with tension. Jessica's father, Mr. Monroe, stood at the podium, his voice booming about family values and disruption. I felt sick, but Lily squeezed my hand under the table. Then Ms. Larson stood, her voice calm but firm. These girls aren't the problem. They're showing us what courage looks like. The real disruption is letting bullying go unchecked. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and I saw nods, even from people I hadn't expected. Then I stood, my legs shaking but my voice steady. I used to think I had to hide who I am, I said. But I'm not ashamed of loving someone. I'm ashamed of a town that punishes us for it. Lily stood beside me, her presence a shield. We're not going anywhere, she said. You can suspend us, but you can't erase us. The room was silent, then a few people clapped. Sarah, Max, strangers I didn't know. It wasn't everyone, but it was enough. The board didn't suspend us. They issued a warning, but Mr. Monroe's push for punishment failed. Thanks to the petition and the voices that spoke up, Jessica's clique quieted, their power dimmed by our refusal to break. School wasn't perfect. Some still stared, some still whispered, but we'd carved out a space where we could be us. Months later, graduation came and Lily and I walked across the stage, our hands brushing as we tossed our caps. We'd decided to leave Ohio for college, chasing dreams in a city where we could be free. The library remained our sanctuary until the end, where we'd read poetry and sketch futures together. On our last night there, Lily gave me her sketchbook, filled with drawings of us laughing, fighting, loving. "This is our story," she said, her eyes shining. I kissed her, my heart full, knowing we'd written it together. We weren't just the bookworm and the bad girl anymore. We were Emma and Lily, two girls who'd faced a town's cruelty and found love in the ashes. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours and it was enough. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.